coming into this space with such joy and gratitude paid forward. It is my privilege and my pleasure to say, good morning, beautiful people. I am Rev Vicky Jeter, your minister for Louisville Center for Spiritual Living Teaching Chapter. We welcome you here on this Sunday, March the 9th, 2025. We welcome all paths to God. We welcome your challenges and your questions. All pieces and paths of spirit, all areas of life and parts of yourself are essential to a world that works for all. So whether you're here with us for the first time, which I know this morning we have first-time visitors, yay, or if you're watching us on YouTube later, we thank you for being here today because you are why we are here. There is only love, and love leads the way. Now, some of you may know, or you may not, that yesterday, March the 8th, was National Women's Day. And so as a part of honoring that which is going on in the larger society, in the larger world, and putting into the space the kinds of things that we want to honor in prayer when we get to prayer, I have a poem. This is by Maya Angelou. Pretty women wonder where my secrets lie. I'm not cute or built to suit a fashion model size, but when I start to tell them, they think I'm telling lies. I say, it's the reach of my arms, the span of my hips, the stride of my step, the curl of my lips. I am woman, phenomenally woman. That's me. I walk into a room just as cool as you please, and to a man, the fellows stand or fall to their knees. Then they swarm around me like a hive of honeybees. I say, it's the fire in my eyes and the flash of my teeth, the swing of my waist and the joy in my feet. I am woman, phenomenally woman. That's me. Men themselves have wondered what they see in me. They try so much, but they cannot touch my inner mystery. When I try to show them, they say, I still can't see. I say, it's in the arch of my back, the sun of my smile, the ride of my breasts, the grace in my style. I am woman, phenomenally woman. That's me. Now you understand just why my head's not bowed. I don't shout or jump about or have to talk really loud. When you see me passing, it ought to make you proud. I say, it's the click of my heels, the bend of my hair, the palm of my hand, the need for my care. 'Cause I am woman, phenomenally woman. That's me. And in closing, I would just like to acknowledge that all of that level of decoration speaks to the divine feminine in all beings. So at whatever level that may have resonated with you, we are talking to you too. So as we move to take all of this into opening prayer, we begin by setting our personal intentions. Take a moment to check and see what brought you to be with us today. Our shared intention today is to delve into the mysteries of the soul, where the still small voice speaks, and to discover how to develop a stronger relationship with that. All of this, we take now that pausing breath. Breathe in and receive wholly. And exhale completely, slowly, into a space of relative emptiness and stillness. And from this place that is the beginning of a beginning, in opening prayer, I recognize the one life, the one love, the one divine creative source that emerges as all that is, omnipresent right here and right now, omniscient in, as, and through everything right now, and omnipotent, all power and all empowerment, all resource right here and right now. And I open my mind, my heart, and my soul as I invite each person here present to open in mind, heart, and soul, that we might be guided to have the courage, supporting each other, to indeed delve further into the depths of soul, understanding the gifts waiting there and how they benefit us. So for this time and this opportunity, thank you, thank you, thank you, God. I release it, I let it be, and so it is. And this brings us to our opening song, Get Ready, My Soul.
Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Everything I've ever done, everything I've ever seen, everything I've lost or won, everything I've ever dreamed has brought me here to the present moment, here to a new beginning here. And I'm seeing life so clearly now. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. 'Cause here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Here I go, deeper, deeper, deeper than I've ever been before. Here I go, closer, closer, closer to my sacred source. Get ready, my soul. I'm diving in. Get ready, soul. I'm driving in to the deepest kind of love, to the sweetest kind of life. Get ready, my soul. Get ready, my soul.
And this moves us into our mission and vision, which I invite you to say with me as you choose. The mission of Louisville Center for Spiritual Living Teaching Chapter is to teach personal transformation as a virtual community, living the principles of science of mind and celebrating all paths to God, which manifests our vision of a world that honors and respects all people. Now, each week we offer applications of what we believe, because we realize that any of this is only as good as actually puts the fourth tire on the pavement and changes your life. So this comes from our Declaration of Principles we've been going through since the beginning of the year. The Declaration of Principles was written by Dr. Ernest Holmes when someone asked him, "What do you believe?" And so this is Declaration of Principle number 10. We believe in the control of conditions through the power of this mind. And a little more global application of what we believe that dovetails to the message for today. Through the gift of life, it is the pleasure of Spirit to give us the gift of heaven. To receive that gift is to simply enter into it. Also by Dr. Ernest Holmes from his book called This Thing Called Life. And now it is also my privilege and my pleasure to turn this over to Ms. Tammy Evans, who is our practitioner of the week for sacred reading and meditation.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's reading and meditation. A reading from Gail Brenner. Spiritual teacher Adashanti says that truth is always speaking to us. The voice might be quiet, but is ever present, guiding us to navigate the river of our lives with perfect intelligence. Are we listening, or is the inner cacophony too deafening to hear? We can make our way to that still small voice of truth by recognizing what makes us turn away from it. It is not the voice in our heads telling us what we should or shouldn't do. It is not a story justifying our actions. It may not look logical. It is not what we are propelled to do out of fear or out of neediness. It cannot be discerned when we are clouded by strong emotions. When our internal experience is crowded with stories, opinions, doubts, justification, fear, and other emotions, we aren't quiet enough to allow the truth to be heard. And this is where we get into trouble. How do we know when truth is talking? It moves toward us. It moves us towards love for ourselves and others. It ultimately brings enjoyment. There's no sinking feeling that something is wrong. The body unclenches. There's a sense of clarity, excitement, or relief, and an undeniable knowing. Now, as we go into meditation, take a few deep breaths. Relax your body. And allow my words to become yours. Notice the natural rhythm of your breath as it enters and it leaves your body. Let your breath be a gentle anchor for your attention. Gently release any tension you might be holding in your body. Starting with your shoulders. And your neck. And your face. As you continue to breathe, allow any thoughts or worries that arise to pass through you like clouds in the sky. Without getting caught up in them. Simply acknowledge them and gently redirect your attention back to your breath. Imagine a quiet space within yourself. A place of peace and stillness. This is where the still small voice resides. Listen carefully, without expectation. For any whispers, insights, or guidance that may emerge. Allow yourself to simply be present in this moment. Without judgment or striving. Embrace the quiet and the stillness. Notice the sensations in your body. The sounds around you. And the thoughts that arise. Observe them without attachment. As you continue to listen to the still small voice, cultivate a sense of inner peace and calm. Feel the warmth of your own being. And when you're ready, wiggle your fingers and toes. Bring your awareness back to this room. And remember to carry with you the peace and stillness through this day. Namaste.
Namaste, Tammy. That was lovely, lovely, lovely. Thank you so much. So, moving into the actual talk for today, just as a reminder, our theme for 2025, rising higher and diving deeper. The theme for March, the flow of coming and going. And today's presentation is the still small voice. And so to begin, I'm going to introduce our special music for today because it really supports this whole talk. And it speaks to, in a great way, actually the last part of what I'll be bringing forward from this presentation. So as you listen to the music and then you listen to the presentation, just know that there's going to be like a complete gestalt coming back to parts of the message of this song. And this song was actually recommended to me by our beloved Dr. Raymond Anderson. He said that this is the song that they played for him when he was ordained in one of the many teachings that he is certified and licensed in. This is 100,000 Angels by Bliss, and I just invite you to let it sink in and enjoy.
100,000 angels by your side. Do you hear me talk to you? I whisper through doorways and pathways of your mind, clear like the morning dew, and fresh from my journey, cross an ocean of blue. Take just a minute, come and rest by my side. Let me tell you your own story. Let me walk you through your lives. Only a second, that's all it takes to realize there's 100,000 angels by your side. There's 100,000 angels here
There's 100,000 angels by our sides. Just take a moment, take a breath, and let that in. To begin, I want you all to know that the fulcrum of this message is actually about relationships. The still small voice centers on relationship between yourself to yourself and yourself to God. I'm going to be talking quite a bit about relationships in the coming weeks because I am really learning that quality of relationship is central to just about everything that we're wanting to improve in our lives, personally and for the world. And the reason for that is because we know that we're all one, and in unity, there is no separation. At the first cause of God, there is no separation. But as soon as we fulfill the impulse of God to love, there has to be a receiver. In order for the gift of love to be received, there has to be a receiver. So that impulse ignites God to become this multiplicity that we have in the world. And so the giving and receiving of that love is ultimately, I sincerely believe, totally what this is all about. And everything that we go through as a process of it is just a myriad of relationships and experiences that we have as God emerging. And so the thing is that as we learn about quality of relationship, there is a synthesis and a harmony happening all the time between the purity of spirit, the essence from which we come, the soul level that moves through. And when I speak about the soul level, I'm talking about the quantum field, the bridge between essence and form, which includes our dreamtime lives and all kinds of intermittent states of consciousness that are somewhat in the unknown and somewhat in the known, because it's that bridging quality. And so this is all true about the place where the still small voice can actually be heard, because that voice is the voice of spirit, and it's the voice of your higher self. It's a voice that is, in fact, much larger than any one of us. And yet, at the same time, it's housed in the most intimate place within. And that's where the higher self of you and your human self meet. And so today, we're going to be talking about how to stay in touch with that at that soul level. And we'll also be talking about the benefits of learning to surrender to that voice and what it means for living your authentic purpose and finding your divine vocation. You know, we talked before about how each and every being that comes onto this planet has a divine purpose in God, whether that appear to be a small thing or a big thing that someone does. In God, it's all equally valuable, because every single gear of how life on this planet or life in this universe works has its place. And as we're here learning what that place is and how to fulfill that, we come into our divine vocation. And when we're in touch with the support of the still small voice, that connection between God, our higher self, and our human self, then all of this gets not only much easier, but my experience gets a whole lot more fun. And so here we start with this statement. How often have you all heard, listen for the still small voice? As God bless the meditation and reading that Tammy, you did today. It just totally dovetailed with this entire message, and I appreciate you so much. Listen for the still small voice. It is a statement that's been used so often that for some of us, it may have actually lost its impact. And so I experienced this actually as the kind of thing that's like a tip of an iceberg. But what I mean by that is we hear it as being like a whisper, but what underlies that whisper is of profound significance. And that's what we're going to dive into today. So where does the still small voice idea come from? And what significance does that story have in our lives? Pardon me. So as I went researching this, not surprisingly, the reality of the still small voice runs through many faiths, maybe all of them. I wasn't able to look at all of them, but I'm aware of two that I want to share with you today. In the Bible, it actually comes from 1 Kings chapter 19, verses 12 and 13. And there's a story in there about one of the followers of in the time of the Israelites, and he was searching for God. And it was a great big deal, you know, because there was wars going on, and he knew that he had like a mission. He knew it was his thing to bring more of the truth to the people, to try to quell the strife that was going on. And so he went looking for God, and he thought, you know, is it in the great thunderstorm? And is it in the earth? Is it in the oceans? Is it in fire? You know, and everywhere he went, of course, at first he thought he had it because he was inspired, and then he found that it didn't carry through. And ultimately, he exhausts all his options looking for God. And upon exhaustion and being able to go no more, he hears the still small voice. And he comes to understand that the voice of God is actually within him. Now, there is another story from Eastern religions that has always stuck with me, that I actually heard from my guru when I was in transcendental meditation. And it was almost exactly the same kind of story, only in that story, there's kind of like a communion among guides and guards and God in heaven. And they're having this debate about, well, you know, if we're going to create the earth and we're going to create the populace of the earth, and then we're going to create man, you know, to be the custodian of all life on earth, where shall we put God? You know, do we put God in the mountains, and do we put God in the clouds, and all this? They go through the same kind of litany about the benefits of all these places that God could be. And then finally someone says, oh, no, 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 let's put God within man, because he will never look there. And it will always be a mystery. And there you have it. And so what it takes to get to being available to the still small voice. We hear people talk all the time about the experience of the still small voice, most often being during meditation or some deep sense of intuition, which that's all true. But what I really discovered in diving into this and kind of taking a look at what my experience has been and what I've heard other people say, I realized the key is not that we're supposed to meditate, although not taking away from that at all. When we do a lot of meditation, it actually strengthens that part within us, like the part in the physical brain that is open to soul level kinds of things. And so absolutely meditate as much as you're inspired. However, it's not just a meditative state. The thing is, hearing the still small voice is an alternative state of consciousness. And it can happen, the alternative states in consciousness happen in different kinds of ways. What happens when you come into an alternative state of consciousness is you are dropped away from, in one way or another, your thinking mind, that cognitive mind that wants to have control and all of those kinds of things. When you have something that takes you out of that, which might be meditation, or it might be, you know, like we've heard of near-death experiences where someone becomes so ill that they become disconnected from their everyday living sense. And that's kind of what happened to the guy in the story in the Bible. He got so exhausted, he finally collapsed. And when he collapsed and dropped out of his cognitive mind, then he heard the still small voice within him. And so other kinds of things that can take you there, for example, when you hear about people being in the zone, and we've talked about the creative zone before, it might be an artistic thing you're doing and you get so into it that you just kind of embody that thing and you're not thinking with your cognitive mind anymore. That is a place where you're open to the still small voice and deeper intuition. And then there's one more example that I thought of. Oh, in sports. The zone happens in sports, you know, when people just know, man, they're going to throw that basketball and it's going in that hoop. And that's, you know, you've got that alignment. That's a place that is open to hearing the still small voice, because we're dropped out of the cognitive mind and we're at the level of that intermediary where essence is not quite fully into hard and fast form. And so then the thing is that recognizing this, we all do it. You already do it. And so when you have that thought that it's hard to drop out of your cognitive mind, like we talk about what's the distance between your head and your heart. Well, if you think about it, one way that this could get easier for you is just begin to notice the kinds of things that happen for you when you suddenly realize, oh, I dropped out of my cognitive mind. Oh, I know what that feels like. I've had it happen peeling potatoes, which actually reminds me, there's a story about that where a monk, you know, he was assigned, he got in trouble in his monastery, and they assigned him to like peel potatoes for a year or something, you know. And it actually ultimately took him into a space of mysticism, of knowing oneness, because he got so into doing that it took him to that place where he was totally out of being affected by, affairs of the world. And so it's that kind of thing. Just notice when you suddenly realize, wow, I was doing artwork or writing or whatever I was doing, and I let go of my cognitive mind, and watch where it takes you and talk to it. See, that's the next thing we're going to talk about is in relationship, developing relationships with the different parts of yourself and the different potentials that you have. It might sound crazy, but I promise you, if you start to greet this arena of yourself in the morning, if you start to wake up in the morning and in the process saying good morning God or good morning to nature, however you greet your day, if you also greet the soul part of you and say, we're going through this day together, and I'm open, I'm going to use my cognitive brain, because it's not that the cognitive brain is not valuable. It's essential to us being here. It's essential to us being grounded. But at the same time, recognizing that all these levels of ourself, our spirit, our soul, and our body can work in unison with each other. They work as a team, right? And so to start greeting that part of you as a relationship and talk to that part of yourself, then as soon as that connection gets made, more of this kind of stuff is going to happen. And so I want to now just tell you a very brief version of a story, because actually I did not realize this until I started working with this talk this week. Some of you know that when I was 9 years old, I got into a confrontation with God about being born with a disability. And I had had surgery, and so my legs were in casts, and I was having muscle spasms, and I was in quite a state, because prior to going into that surgery, while I was in the hospital the day before the surgery, I realized for the first time in my little 9-year-old life that these surgeries were not going to suddenly make me be able to walk, and I was fit to be tied. I had had it. And then I was hurting, and then I'd really had it. And I got into a knockdown, drag out fight with God, and it took me out of my normal everyday consciousness. And it was only as I was getting into this that I realized that my surrendering at that level, and I mean, I was speaking my word, and I was in all this kind of emotion, but I was not in my normal everyday self at all. And now I know absolutely that it's that jettison out of my everyday self that opened my being to be able to receive what happened. And just briefly, like the Holy Spirit came and filled my hospital room, and literally I heard some of the answers to my questions, not in like words, but I mean, I really received it. So now Vernon's going to play a clip. And what I want you to have an opportunity to see here, this is from the movie Pinocchio. And you're going to see Jiminy Cricket. And in the clip, they call Jiminy Cricket as the still small voice Pinocchio's conscience, but just insert still small voice, because I want to suggest to you that what happens in this clip is the kind of opportunity that we have. And go ahead and play the clip for me, Vernon. Now, before we do anything else, I want to invite you to drop into your imagination, which is another one of those talents and abilities that we have that maybe doesn't get used as much, that is a part of that quantum field soul level. Take just a moment in your imagination with the impressions that you've just had, and imagine a sacred ceremony that you can do to anoint your relationship to your still small voice. Imagine that there is caring and support and angels and guides for you that can come and help you strengthen that connection between yourself and your still small voice. And it just tickles me that she actually does call it the still small voice in there. I had forgotten about that. To just take a moment right here and right now to make this potential as real for you as you possibly can, between your mind, your heart, your imagination, and your soul. Take a breath. And we're going to expand this to one more level. What it becomes when we learn to trust it. So, in my experience, I mentioned before that this is also related to like finding our divine vocation. And what I realize is that when we are in communion with that still small voice and working with it regularly, the opportunities it opens up and the clarity that it opens up about just exactly what is ours to do gets so much stronger. And I find that I am not as concerned about whether or not anyone else understands exactly what I'm doing or why I'm doing it. And this kind of lends back to what we talked about a week or two ago about having the courage to go against the stream, like when you know that what you're doing is not what other people are doing, but it's what you're called to do. And so I have one more clip that I want to show, and this is from Joseph Campbell, another lovely, lovely explication he has of this, leaning into giving ourselves permission to be who we were meant to be and do what we were meant to do, knowing that it is speaking to us from the inside out.
I always tell my students, follow your bliss.
Follow your bliss?
Your bliss, where the deep sense of being in form and going where your body and the soul want to go. When you have that feeling, then stay with it and don't let anyone throw you off. Have you ever read Sinclair Lewis's Babbitt?
Not in a long time.
Do you remember the last line? I've never done a thing I wanted to in all my life. That's the man who never followed his bliss. Well, I heard that line. I was living in Brownsville when I was teaching at Sarah Lawrence. Before I was married, I used to be eating out in the restaurants of the town for my lunch and dinners. And Thursday night was the maid's night off in Brownsville, so that all the families were out in the restaurants. And one fine evening, I was in my favorite restaurant there. It was a Greek restaurant. And at the table was sitting a father, a mother, and a scrawny little boy, about 12 years old. The father says to the boy, drink your tomato juice. And the boy says, I don't want to. And the father, with a louder voice, says, drink your tomato juice. And the mother says, don't make him do what he doesn't want to do. Father looks at her and she says, he can't go through life doing what he wants to do. Said, if he does only what he wants to do, he'll be dead. Look at me. I've never done a thing I wanted to in all my life. I said, my God. Babbitt incarnate. And that's the man who never followed his bliss. Well, you may have a success in life, but then just think of it. What kind of life was it? What good is it? You've never done the thing you wanted to in all your life.
What happens when you follow your bliss?
You come to bliss. In Sanskrit, which is the great spiritual language of the world, and they know all about it and have known about it for a long time. The transcendent is transcendent. But there are three terms that bring you to the brink. You might say the jumping off place to the ocean. And the three terms are Sat, Chit, Ananda. And Sat, the word Sat means being. Chit means full consciousness. And Ananda means rapture. So I thought, I don't know whether my consciousness is full consciousness or not. I don't know whether my being is proper being or not, but I do know where my rapture is. So let me hang on to rapture, and that'll bring me both being and full consciousness, and it worked.
Now I'm only too curious to ask, did you all notice that walk through evolution from the first amoeba all the way through to the evolvement of man? I did not notice that before. Only this time when I was watching that did I recognize all the different phases of life moving up through man standing up and walking. And so with all of that in mind, I simply want to say, this week, see if you can dedicate some quiet time to imagining you have a direct relationship with the part of you that has a direct relationship with spirit and does not doubt it ever, because it's your higher self, in the kind of way that you can have everyday conversations. And when you wake up in the morning and start your day, when you say good morning, include saying good morning to all these new parts and potentials that have been introduced here. And when I was saying, it goes back to the beginning with that special music song, 100,000 Angels. In my experience, and this first happened for me when I was 9 years old, and I had that experience of getting into the confrontation with God. There was a healing that happened for me that day. And ever since then, I have known that the essence of God that reached my consciousness and answered my question that day was something I could relate to. It wasn't just a universal power that you can't commune with. And because I have known that at such a young age so deeply, I have always known that we have that support around us, whether it works for you to call it angels or ancestral guides, or maybe not even a construct at all, but just really recognizing that there is this power for good that is not only the universal spirit that is undifferentiated, but also that you can talk to guides and guards, however they might be for you. And there is 100,000 legions of support around us. The more we're able to identify and commune with that, the more it's able to work with us, because we are at free will. You know, it has to be an extraordinary situation for that kind of support to come through that has not been first requested or connected to. And with all of that, let us go into closing prayer. Thank you, God, for all of this and more. Very simply, I know and declare right here and right now that this message has reached each person within the sound of my voice at the level of their understanding, at the level that is going to serve them to their highest and best. And I choose to know that we know what we need to know when we need to know it, and we're able to do what we choose to do when we choose to do it, with whom we choose to do it, for as long as we choose. And as I speak this word, we hold these doors and windows open, not only for ourselves individually, not only for LCSL as a community, not only for each of our larger communities from all the places that we come from, other countries, other cities, other places, but for all of humanity and the world, every being, every level of life. Yes, we honor it, we uplift it, and we say, we are whom we have been waiting for. Thank you, God. I release it, I let it be, and so it is.
Okay, now's the time for the giving of our gifts. As always, we thank you for all the ways that you give to Louisville Center for Spiritual Living. The ways to give are on the slide or in the chat, along with our snail mail at LCSL PO Box 43958, Louisville, Kentucky 40253. Now please join me in affirming today's affirmation. As an expression of divine spirit, I am limitless. I can be, do, and have anything I align within my highest good. As this is true of me, I know this is true of all. And I pass it to Vicky for the blessing of the offering.
And I take up this word knowing it's already been done, and simply with the heart of a child saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, Mother, Father, God. We accept and receive, and we give again. And so I let it be, and so it is.
And now it's time for our announcements. So next week's speaker will be our own Reverend Vicky Jeter. The flow of coming and going. I got it, I lost it. Of course, since it's going to be close to St. Patrick's Day, we're all going to decorate and show up in green hats and whatever kind of creative things we can come up with. So our next local in-person event is Tuesday, March 25th from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. It's a live storytelling at the Moth Radio Louisville Headliners Music Hall. There in Kentucky, in Louisville, and $15 at the door and $5 for parking. And LCSL's giving survey is here. I think you should have all received that in your email, and we all appreciate a response as soon as you can get to it. And the idea for a community vitality from Joan Durbin is to pick a plant to represent LCSL, knowing that when you nurture it, you are nurturing the center. And then you can help. I've got a note here that we're going to show us during share times. We're going to share our plants. And please join us for sharing time after the benediction. And here's a picture of the planetary parade that could be viewed throughout February. Striking gathering of 5 brightest planets: Venus, Jupiter, Mars, Mercury, and Saturn, along with the more elusive Uranus and Neptune. And while this planetary alignment isn't particularly rare, it's relatively uncommon. So the chance to see all 5 together doesn't come around too often. But please always remember and don't ever forget that you are magnificent.
And now I invite you to say with me our benediction, the Irish blessing. May the road rise up to meet you. May the wind always be at your back. May the sun shine warm upon your face. May the rain softly fall on your fields. And until we meet again, may God hold you and enfold you tight in the palm of his hand.